Jen said that she's also forced to work overtime on a regular basis. It's so boring, I can't bear it anymore. Every day is like I get off from work and I go to bed. I get up in the morning and I go to work. It's my daily routine and I almost feel like an animal, said Ms. Chen, who aspires to become a biologist.
This is from Gina Cano, a former worker at Hugger, a subcontracted making plant and organizer for Central General Tribonitis Union Federation in Honduras. I used to work at Hugger factory in Honduras. Hugger made garments for major brands of Nike and Adidas, and in this factory we were subject to many violations toward rights as workers. The pay was very low and production demands very high. The factory actually contracted guards to look over us as we went to the bathroom, went to get water, and while we would eat. When we didn't finish the production for that day, they would lock the doors and not let us leave. The factory would take a chunk out of our paycheck every week for health insurance, but they never provided us with any health benefits. They had actually come to an agreement in which they were to keep a medic inside of the plant. We had no idea the factory wasn't paying for any of our benefits until one day a coworker collapsed inside of the factory. When the medic didn't know what to do, we took her to the hospital, but they refused to attend to her, telling us that our employer hadn't been paying for any of our health insurance. Because of these violations and many others, we decided to organize into a union. One morning at 7:30 a.m. when we arrived at the factory to work, we found that the factory had closed down. We asked the owner why he had shut down the factory, and he told us it was because of the recession in the U.S. We knew this wasn't true. The entire time we were organizing, the factory manager, who was also the owner of the factory, told us that he preferred to close down the factory rather than recognize the union. From the day the factory opened 13 years earlier to the day it closed, we had been producing for the brand Nike. So we went to Nike to ask for help. We were even a certified Nike plant listed on their webpage, and had received yearly audits from their staff, but the entire time Nike refused to take any responsibility for us, telling us that we weren't their workers. We called on the Fair Labor Association, whose investigator told us they were not responsible for us, and scolded us for harassing Nike.
Can I have you guys pause for just a second?
In transition, and they're not going to be able to reach in and do the calendar check stuff. So.
We do just really want to ask why after.
This is the chief of police, though, so let's.
No,
That's good.
No, not now. We just wanted to know why after 17 months of dialogue we're still affiliated with FLA, and given the last response that we got from our rep Van Heerden, we want to meet with President Scorton just to ask why we are still affiliated with.
And I think President Scorton is more than willing to do that when he gets back.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know the answer to that question, but I know that President Scorton does wish to consult with the faculty before he makes any kind of final decision. So part of, I think, the reason for not having made any decision yet is that.
Great. I think we're going to sit now in solidarity with 200 workers for 2 hours and read our testimonies and do our homework. We all have finals.
Yeah. I know. Slope day's tomorrow, right? What day after tomorrow?
We really appreciate you guys coming out and being so helpful with our solidarity.
Yeah, well, thanks for your concern about all these very serious issues.
Investigators can't stay on the phone but they got caught off right off of the meeting, so I'm just helping you. We really appreciate the way you're handling yourselves. And it doesn't have to be me.
Yeah, we do. Yes, we have a police liaison who is going to talk to the and we have 2 people in charge. Yeah,
so if you have any issues for now,
yeah, thank you.
Expressing yourself as Americans.
Oh, thank you so much.
If you have any problems with anything else, it's not a concern.
Yes.
Trying to realize, don't hesitate. Investigators stand with us. We just want to support you. We stay
the end of the.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's exactly what we do. So thank you so much.
And I don't know whether you guys have an official spokesperson. It seems like you're doing a lot of speaking.
Yeah, we have one person inside also.
Okay,
doing
so
that.
here's my business
Thank you so
card.
much.
So you have my contact information. That gets you the front desk, and they can find me. So what I understand you guys is, yeah, well, we all need each other. Let's just put it that way. I just ask you guys to be reasonable. If they say that their business is being disrupted, I know these people, and they won't do it unless they're feeling their business is disrupted. We'll be leaving the plainclothes officers. We met Stan Slovic and Chuck Allridge. We'll be leaving them behind as a kind of a go-between, a liaison. I'm certainly available. They have direct contact with me through radio or phone. They're basically a good crew in there, so they just want to be able to answer the phones and conduct the business. So.
Thank you so much.
Okay. So we'll check back in about 2 hours, and these guys will be here for the time being. And if we need anything, we'll do what we can. So Kent, I don't know whether you're going to be having further conversations, or if you have any.
I'll answer whatever I can, and I can give you my cell phone number if you want to be in touch with me in any way. It's 379-1596, if it's useful to you.
Area code 607?
607, yeah, 379-1596.
Thanks, guys, for cooperating, Chief.
Chris. How you doing? How are you? What are you reading? I've always wanted to read that book. Is it good?
Yeah.
Huh.
Okay.
Guns, Germs, and Steel.
Oh, it's a great book.
Yeah, it's a really good book, right?
Fair Labor Association, so Apple, in response to bad press coverage, went to the FLA to have them. The FLA is basically the corporation that corporations go to when they need good PR, and the FLA released a report, and in response, Apple basically cut hours because they were allowed to do overtime, and the workers were then. They cut their hours but maintained their workload, so the workload basically increased and the chief became worse in response to the FLA. So just last March, there were 200 suicide threats on the ceiling of the factory as a form of protest. So these are
Yeah. I think that we would ask that if they're talking in there that we address the whole group.
Or that we kind of moved on from the talking period.
Additional workers that are being pressed.
And all the first 5 oil factories that were allegedly certified by the FLA for being.
Personally, the one issue I think needs a whole lot of work, and it's going to get a lot of work. I was on the WRC University caucus yesterday. And the severance issue is very, very much alive. There's a lot of arguing back and forth about how it's structured, the degree to which a brand should be responsible. There's one group that says, fine, if you were a 50% user of the factory, you should be responsible for 50% of the severance, and that sort of thing. So that all needs to be worked out.
Do you feel like the FLA has moved at all since we first brought the issue to the university's attention?
No, I don't think they have, because I don't think that, I mean, they disagree with you.
And the university.
To some degree.
We requested and President Scorton requested that they make certain changes, and instead they explained why they would not make the changes.
Right, when somebody does that, you can either, just hold a hard line for no really good reason, or you can thoughtfully consider what they told you, and that's what he's doing. This is really complicated, as you know.
I think that most of us, or actually I would say all of us and all of the people who aren't here right now who are members of the coalition think that the issue is really simple.
Summer of 2011, so I mean we had, a whole year since then to discuss why they did it, and now like Scorton's level was slightly different in March because it did say that our affiliation would rest upon the FLA's will to make the change, and yet they still gave us the same answer, so it kind of seems like we're not moving forward with this dialogue, and we're all wondering why we're
Well, he
still
has
caught
certain
up.
dialogues that he wants to continue to have, so.
I think it's important also to kind of point out that this isn't about a difference in philosophy of how you organize an organization, but how you think of voting systems. It's about a conflict of interest. It's not about differing opinions. It's about there's an obvious conflict of interest here with people who would lose profits if if better reports were issued, and it's no surprise why they're not doing it. It's because it's against their interest, and I think that's really clear.
Well, I think you need to go in and do a little research on how the FLA conducts its business. The decisions on what plants are selected for visits are done by, the brands have nothing to do with that decision. They're made totally blind to the brands. And if you look at the work that the brands have had to go to as a result of these audits, I mean, the evil empire itself, Nike, has had to go into more than 160 factories to do remediation work as the result of audits. So it's hard to really see this as a whitewash.
What about